Hello guys, I'm back from another video, and today we're talking about what if Deku was in RWBY. And I'm really sorry that I didn't really make a video last time because I was sort of like busy with like an assignment. As an assignment, I mean literal freaking projects. Ugh, God. Ugh, but either way, continuing on with the episode. So, in the last video we talked about how after, after arriving back at the arena, they would start, getting ready for their matches. But except for Izuku's team, yet. And so, during the matches, the first match was between, Mercy and, Yang. And during the fight, let's just say, Yang would easily beat her. But, she would decide to, be a little bitch and decide to, charge at her even though she was defeated. But when she did that and tried to defend herself, it made it look like she actually did that. Like, that she didn't, get provoked by, by her. And let's just say she was now disqualified, which caused, Izuku to start thinking, why the hell did she do that? And after doing so and reviewing the footage, after they'd gone back to, to the locker rooms, they would, see, or at least, after using his Sharingan, he would realize that it was actually not her, but instead it was some sort of like illusion, which is oddly similar to, well, her, aka, Neapolitan. And after that, everybody would start leaving. Actually, sort of. We're going to be backtracking a little bit, where we see, last time, more specifically, the last part of, last video, where we see, what is her name? Yeah, Pyra, and also, the three adults, more specifically, what is his name? Let me just... Ozpin, General Ironwood, or, well, actually, I'm not even gonna say it. And Good Bitch. I mean, Good Witch. I'm starting to think this is a I actually meant it as a freaking joke, and now this is actually, happening to me. Just this one joke, and now it became a problem. Why? But either way, apparently they would tell her a little story. Or at least a story that was basically passed down from generation to generation. More specifically, the legend or the story of the four maidens. The story would go like this: blah blah blah, four maidens, being representations of the four seasons: winter, summer, fall, and spring, and each of them basically helping a old man. This old man being a wizard, blah blah blah, giving them magic, and now they're able to use elemental powers. And after a bit of saying that, Crow would basically tell her that she's going to be the new, Fall Maiden. And after saying so, they would start leaving to go to where the original Fall Maiden was, specifically by the name of Amber. Or, Amber from Genshin Impact, because I can't unsee that anymore. Every time when I think of a person named Amber, I always think of, the character Amber from Genshin Impact. Oh god, yeah. Let's just say, the Genshin Impact, series that I made back then. Well, it sort of became a problem now. But either way, continuing on with this, with this series, we, after that little, talk with them, and after going to, to where the original, Fall Maiden is, they would basically tell her about, how they're going to be transferring the powers to her. And after saying so, she was a bit conflicted, and so decides to, just rest for a little bit, or at least, think about it. But after doing so, we go, back to the present day, where we currently see everybody basically resting, except for Team RWBY, as we go to their perspective, as they're currently, no longer trusting of, her, more specifically, Yang, because Yang basically caused a bit of trouble. Even though, RWBY is basically convincing a General Ironwood, or at least trying to, basically saying that it wasn't her. Or at least that's what they think. But most of them don't really trust her. I mean, almost all of them, basically trust her, but, not General Ironwood or the public. And let's just say the public is currently, in an uproar after seeing this, thinking that the huntsmen are starting to become a little bit more aggressive, and would cause some of the grim nearby to basically become a little bit more agitated and much more hungry for flesh. And so, after a bit of talking and also a bit of exposition, and also Crow basically arriving there, and after Yang tells her, tells him about the woman in the picture, more specifically her mother, that basically or at least a person that looks similar to her, basically saving her back in the Mount Glen incident. And after saying so, apparently it was actually her mother, aka Raven, aka Madara. I'm not even kidding. When I first saw her, I thought she was, just a female freaking Madara. Actually, that would actually be a good idea. Oh god. Yeah, just imagine giving Yang the freaking Sharingan. Oh god. Actually, that actually sounds like a great idea. But either way, after that, we basically, leave them in that point. But we also go to another perspective, more specifically, with Team Cinder, as Team Cinder is basically, leaving in an ambulance, where we see a completely fine ass, a completely fine, Mercy, as they're basically, getting ready for the final event. More specifically, their little invasion. As currently Neapolitan is planning to basically try and, capture Izuku. I mean, they are sort of like friends, or at least used to, ever since they're, ever since he was revealed to be, Roman Torchwick's, sort of like daughter, sort of like adopted daughter. But either way, after that, we go to another perspective where we see, a pretty much, conflicted ass, Pyra, as she was basically talking to not Red, I meant, Jean, as after a bit of talking with her, and after, Jean trying to at least, help her out with her problem, well, instead of helping her, it's more like, it's more like she basically caused a bit of trouble, and so it would cause her to basically, use her, her semblance to basically, cause her to basically slam into the wall, and after doing so, we, after that, she would try to help her out and bring her to the, to the infirmary. And after doing so, we go back to Izuku, where we finally see him, as Izuku is currently having trouble with his Renegon. For some odd reason, this Renegon seems to be, weird, seems to be frizzing out a little bit. Almost like it's basically itching. Almost like it's in pain. Almost similar to pink eye. And by the way, if I literally had pink eye many years ago, and let's just say it was not fun. God, I hated that. But at least I never had to go to school at that time. Actually, I should probably do that. No, that would be a bad idea. No, but either way, after that, we basically see Izuku basically falling to sleep. So yeah, that is where we basically ended off the episode. And so, let us talk about what happens next, ladies and gents. So, we currently see Izuku waking up, as for the others, they would also wake up. After doing so, they would start leaving. After leaving, they would start going towards, the large-ass stadium. Or, Colosseum. As it was announced that it was finally Izuku's turn to basically fight. So, apparently, his opponent was a cloaked man by the name of... let's just call him... by the name of CW. And after being told of this, he would say this. I see, he would say. As after saying that, he would see the man's picture, as it seems to be a cloaked figure, wearing, a full mask that seems to resemble a bear. As he was also, wielding two interesting weapons. Two of them being dual axes. As he would see this. This is certainly going to be fun, he would say. But I think it's time for me to just do it a little bit more quickly, he would say. As after saying so, he would start getting ready for the fight. So, after arriving at the arena, he would see his opponent as the man, or at least he thinks it's a man, as he would say this, or at least say nothing, as he would prepare for the fight, as Izuku would say this. This is certainly going to be fun, he would say, as after saying that, Professor Port would basically say, now, fight, he would say. As after saying that, the arena would start to change, transforming into a large, forest, with, resembling a jungle. As after doing so, the man by the name of CW would start charging towards him with his axes, as Izuku would start dodging it instead of, fighting him. As everybody was a bit confused, thinking that, why is he basically doing this, as he would say this. Hey, maybe at least try to, try and do something a little bit more different than just, trying to slice me apart. I mean, have you seen how many times that I basically beaten some of you guys, he would say, as after saying that, he would not respond. But instead, he would start, slamming his two, axes together as he would create one double, bladed battle axe, as he would basically wield it with two hands, as he would say this. Huh. Quite an interesting weapon, he would say. But either way, he would say, as he would start using, Shadow Clone Jutsu, as after saying this, after saying the jutsu, he would say this. So, I wanted to ask, do you want me to use Susanos with these Shadow Clones or not, he would say, as the man would not respond, as everybody was a bit confused, saying, Susano? What the heck is Susano? Everybody would start questioning, including some of the others, including, a few people in the stands, more specifically, Cinder, Emerald, and Mercy, as he's currently in the corridor, as she was currently facing off with, surprisingly, actually, no, she's not facing anybody, as she's currently, in the corridor, basically, all the way to the, I guess you could say the entrance to, to where the so-called, Colosseum basically leads to, as she's basically leaning on, the, I guess you could say, wall, yeah, she's basically leaning on the wall, as you would say this. I guess I should probably go choose, yeah, why not, he would say, as after saying this, he would start activating Susano, as everybody would just be terrified seeing them. Instead of being in its full form, instead they're just being in their, in their armored form. Or at least one of them is, in its armored form, while the rest are basically in its just humanoid form. Not I guess you could say half or incomplete form, where it's basically just just the bottom half. Instead, it's basically just how do I say this? Yeah, it basically just has the legs as well, but it's not basically similar to Madara. You remember Madara? Yeah, Madara when he's using the Susanoo in his humanoid form, where it basically has the legs. But either way, after doing so, everybody would just be surprised, as he would say this. Now, let's try this out, he would say. As after saying this, he would start preparing some arrows, as these arrows would get ready to fire, as he would say this. Now, as he would fire towards the man, as the man would basically, disappear out of the way, as he would say this. Must be his semblance, he would say, as after saying that, the man would reappear right beside him, as the man would basically, get ready his axes towards him, as his axes would basically split apart, basically transforming into his, regular form, as, I guess you could say regular form, I guess, but either way, he would get ready to slice through the Susanoo, but this Susanoo would just, be super strong to the point that it basically just the axe would just basically just bounce off it, as the man would just be surprised, as he would say this. Insignificant, he would say, as after saying that, he would start using, something else as well, as he would say this. Now, trigrams, he would say, as he would start, using the Susanoo to basically, start pummeling him, as he would say this. 2 palms, 4 palms, wait for a second, 6 palms, 8 palms, 12 palms, just imagine, the whole, trigram 64 palms thing, as after doing so, he he would do one more attack, as he would say, 64 palms, he would say, as after doing so, it would cause him to basically, be thrown to the wall. As after doing so, he would deactivate the Susanos, as after doing so, he would say this. I think I have one, he would say. As after saying this, the announcer would say that Izuku Midori has won, and after doing so, the man would be dragged out. So, after doing so, he would start leaving, as after doing so, the rest of his team would basically celebrate, as one of them would say this. I think that was a bit overkill, said, Rachel, as he would say this. Said Rachel Trust, as he would say this. Yeah, but still, it's pretty much a great intimidation tactic. I meant, a great intimidation tactic, he would say, as after saying so, one of them would say this. Yeah, but still, you really didn't really need to do that, said, one of them, as he would say this. Yeah, you're right, he would say, as after saying so, he would look towards, the TV, or, the little, screen, as would say, the next battle would be between Penny and, Pyra, as after saying so, he would say this. Hey guys, want to cheer on Pyra, he would say, as, Skylar would say this. Hell yeah, she would say. As after saying that, everybody else would start leaving, as, wait for a second. As Dove would say this. Yeah, let's go, she would say, as she would have a happy little smile, as she would say this. I guess we are a team. At least it's better than with Carden, she would say. As after saying that, to herself, the, battle would begin. But we go to a different perspective, more specifically with, the reveal of, what is her name again? God dang. Of Mercy. As Mercy is currently leaning on the wall, as we currently see, RWBY after noticing, Emerald, she would start, going towards them. As after doing so, what is her name? Yeah, Mercy would say this. Oi, you, she would say. As she would say this. What are you doing here? Wait, I thought you were hurt, she would say. As she would say this. I meant she. I guess you'd say that I sort of tricked them, she would say. But either way, as after saying so, she would start getting ready to basically, fight, as she would say this. I won't let you, interfere with our plans, she would say. As she would say this. What are these plans, she would say. As she would say this. Oh, I don't know, maybe maybe about you basically going to be, more specifically, the so-called, hero remnant, aka Miss Pyronika is gonna be fighting against, Penny, she would say. As after saying that, she would say this. Yeah, but why, she would say. As she would say this. Oh, the reason why is because, well, isn't that obvious, she would say. Remember, her semblance allows her to basically use magnetic forces. And Penny is a robot, she would say. As after saying this, she would, realize this, as she would say this. Then as she would say this. Yep, she would say. And I won't let you interfere with that plan, she would say. As after saying that, she would get ready in a fighting stance. And as for RWBY, she would also get ready as the fight would begin. And we go back, to the stance there. More specifically, with Izuku and the rest of Team Colorless. As Team Colorless is basically cheering on, Pyra. As after Pyra noticing Izuku and the rest of Team, Colorless basically cheering her on, she would start to smile. Mostly because Izuku is basically cheering her on, including the rest of her team. As after a bit of cheering on, she would notice her opponent, aka Penny. As Penny would say this. So, are you prepared to fight, she would say. As she would say this. As I'll ever be, she would say. As after saying so, the fight would begin. So, as the fight begins, she would start, using her semblance. Not really using her semblance, but more using her, her, just immense strength. As she would start fighting, Penny, she would start getting slashed by some blades, as these blades would start spinning around, creating blasters. Almost similar like caster blasters, but in my opinion, they're more something that you would see in let's just say what is that? Yeah, Yeah, just imagine something similar to like, to what is that called again? Infinite Shadows. Yeah, more specifically, what is your name again? God, it's been a while since I actually seen like, Infinite Shadows. Cecilia Elcott's, IS, more specifically Blue Tears is like, little drones. Just imagine something of that sort. But except they're basically blades that spin so much that they basically create friction. And so, during the fight, she would start, using her sword and using a bit of her semblance to basically, basically like, twirl around the sword. Basically similar to like, a certain motivated, individual. God damn it. But during, the fight, we also see, we also see, our lovely little like girl, aka, our lovely, little like cinema roll right next to, Izuku back in the day, aka, RWBY, as she's currently still fighting with, with Mercy, as she would say this. There's no way that you can actually beat me, as she would say this. Why do you think that why do you think that I'm going to be beating you, she would say. As after saying so, she would say this. Huh? She would just be surprised as she would start using her, as RWBY would start using her, I was about to say quirk. God fucking damn it. Let's just say I absolutely hate, my room, or at least my new room, at least, because I have to deal with, like, motorcycles and cars for some odd reason, basically driving around, where my room is, and let's just say it's absolutely annoying. But either way, continuing on with the episode, as she would start using her, as she would start using her semblance to basically, to speed around her, as she would start leaving to go towards, to the arena. But we go back to the arena as Izuku would start noticing something happening. As we currently see, we finally see, our lovely little, like, girl, aka, our lovely little, like, our lovely little, like, green-haired girl, aka Emerald, using her semblance, more specifically hallucination, as she would start using it on Pyra, as she would start using it to create several, and I mean several more swords of, like, of, what do you call it? Yeah, a penny. As after doing so, she would just be surprised, as she would decide to use her, full power, aka her full power of her semblance. As after doing so, she would activate it, as she would cause, the semblance to basically, to basically, push away her a little bit more. As after doing so, it would cause her wires, or at least I think so. That's apparently the explanation of why she actually, like, got ripped apart, at least. At least I think so. But either way, after doing so, the wires around her body would start twisting and tangling, causing her to be ripped apart, making it look like she was killed. Izuku would obviously sense the, the sort of like, illusion, as after using his, his Sharingan on one of his eyes, he would notice it as a, some sort of like genjutsu, including the other people around them, as after, not really other people, as basically like, how they're just like thinking, oh god, did she actually kill her? Or, oh, I meant like, oh, did somebody like put a genjutsu on us or something? No, it's more like, they basically like, thought that she actually killed her. Because remember, she's a robot, so as Izuku would say this, wait, are those wires? Wait, is Penny a robot, he would say to himself? As after saying that to himself, he would say, no, focus on the thing, he would say. As after doing so, we would also see, RWBY basically coming onto the scene, as she would notice, no longer limbed, Penny, as Penny is basically just, like, ripped apart by the help of, Pyra's, semblance. And after doing so, we currently see Pyra just, like, surprised, as you say, what the, she would say. So, we go back to, Izuku, as everybody is just basically, like, panicking after seeing this, as you would see, a broken down, basically ripped apart girl, as, Pyra was basically just like, What did I done, she would say, as she would start clutching her head, thinking that it was her fault for basically killing her, as everybody would realize that she's not human, as the screens would start closing up on her, seeing that she's not human at all. She seems to be more resembling of a robot. As we go outside of the city, more specifically, we see Cinder as she would start hacking the systems of the Colosseum, as she would start speaking to the system. As she would do her whole speech, which I'm not going to be doing because, busy with school, going to be doing school tomorrow, blah blah blah, but either way, as she would say this. So it seems that everybody has realized that many of the people here are nothing more than liars. More specifically, the huntsmen themselves, she would say. As during the speech, she would start, talking about how the huntsmen are basically hiding all of these secrets. Especially ones that are about, Yang, how she basically brutalized, brutalized a bit of of Mercy, and not only that, disguising a android as a little girl. As after doing so, everybody would start to panic, as everybody is just saying, what the fuck, as everybody's just scared at this point. As Izuku would say this, shit, he would say, as, one of them would say this, specifically, what is her name? Yeah, Skyla, as she would say this. Izuku, what's going on? As he would say this. I don't know, but this is definitely bad, he would say. As after saying this, Dove would say this. So what are we going to do? As one of them would say this, specifically a person from behind them. As this person was General Ironwood, as she would say this. Come with me, she would say. As after saying that, they would start leaving the area. So, after leaving the area, they would start leaving to go towards, wait for a second, sorry about that, anyway, continuing on, as we currently see Izuku and, the rest of, Team Colorless, including, General Ironwood basically getting out of the area. As we go outside of the city, as we see at least these soldiers basically being attacked by several Grimm, as the Grimm were basically agitated enough to basically become complete berserkers, as they're currently, slicing people down, basically eating them, as the Atlassian soldiers are currently being outnumbered. As we go to another perspective, we currently see an Atlassian ship as a man, more specifically Roman Torture, would say this. You finally freed me, Neapolitan, he would say. As a man would basically, come out of the shadows, as the man's eyes would start turning into a brownish color, or at least, one of her eyes would, one of his eyes would start turning into a brownish color, while the other one becomes a pink color. After doing so, she would, as the man would start to morph, sorry about that, god dang it, would start to morph into a girl, as the girl would basically laugh a little, as he would say this. Now, to Remnant! Not Remnant, I meant, wait for a second. Now, to... As he would start pointing towards, to Vale, as he would say this. To Vale, he would say! As after saying that, we go to another perspective. As we currently see several carrier ships, basically, or at least several, carrier, bullheads, I guess you can say, as these carriers are currently carrying several, and I mean several Grimm, as the man from earlier by the name of Adam would say this. Now, let's make these humans pay for their sins, he would say, as after saying that, many of the other people there would basically, would start to nod their heads, and they seem to be White Fang members, as they would slowly start dropping off the ship to basically get ready for the fight. So, we go back to where, Izuku and the rest of, Team Colorless with, not Professor Ironwood, I meant General Ironwood, as she would say this. Alright, so, Izuku, she would say, as he would say this. Yeah, he would say, Miss Ironwood, as, she would say this. You're able to use your semblance to basically take care of the Grimm, right? She would say, as she would say this. Yeah, so, he would say, as she would say this. Well, I got an urgent call with some, with some of my Atlassian soldiers. Apparently, they got attacked by Grimm, and they seem to be attacking several of the areas nearby, so I want you to take care of it. And also, she would start pointing towards the others as she would say this. And as for all of you, I want you to help Izuku out, she would say. And for me, as she would start getting ready to, with her, with her pistol, as she would say this. I'm gonna be going back to the arena. I'm gonna be saving the kid, she would say. As she would say this. Sure then, General Ironwood, he would say, as he would salute her. As she would say this. You're a good kid, she would say. As after saying so, she would start leaving. As we go back to Izuku and the rest of the others, as he would say this. So, shall we take care of them, he would say. As after saying this, they would start getting ready for the fight. As everybody would start leaving to go to their separate ways, or at least their own separate ways. Sort of. Actually no, they're not like, separating. They're basically going to be together, instead. As you would slowly, slowly start going through the area as you start taking care of Grim. Mostly some low-level Grim as Izuku would start taking care of, more specifically, some really strong Grim. Like, for example, the Elephant Grim, which I'm not going to be, saying the name or any of that sort because I'm not, not going to be searching it up for obvious reasons because, I'm too, tired for this shit. But either way, during their time basically, taking care of the Grim, Izuku would say this. So, how many did you get? He would say. As, Skyla would say this. A few, she would say. As one of them would say this. Hey guys, look, she would say. As after saying that, they would see several Grim basically going towards, wait for a second. As after saying so, one of them would say this. Hey guys, look, she would say. As after saying that, she would start, as everybody would start looking on, as they would see a large-ass Grim. As this Grim almost resembles a dragon, or a European-style dragon. As the dragon would slowly start coming down from the sky, as he would start spawning in more Grim. As Izuku would say this. The hell, he would say? As one of them would say this. Well, this shit is definitely gonna be hard, she would say. As one of them would say this, specifically, Rachel. That's what she said, she would say. As everybody would start looking at her, as Izuku would say this. There's no time for jokes, he would say, as she would say this. What? It was funny, she would say, as he would say this. Whatever, he would say. But either way, as Izuku would get ready his, his axe, as he would start spinning his Renegon, as he would say this. Now, let's do this, he would say. As after saying so, they would start charging in once again, getting ready for another fight. As they would slowly start whittling down towards, towards the other, Grim. As the Grim would start spawning into existence thanks to help of these black puddles that are being spawned by this large dragon Grim. As we go back to, to a different perspective. As we go to a different perspective, more specifically Pyra and also Jean. As Jean would say this, those are a lot of Grim, she would say, as one of them would say this, specifically, not Pyra, I meant, Nora, as she would say this, yeah, I wonder where's Izuku, she would say, as, Lei Ren, or just, Ren, he would say this, yeah, I'm wondering too, but he's probably busy taking care of some Grim, he would say, as, while they're basically talking, and while fighting basically some of the Grim, Pyra would get a message from her scroll, as this message was from, not Ironwood, I meant, Osmond, as Osmond would say this, Pyra, you know what you must do, he would say, as after saying this, Pyra would basically be wide-eyed, as she would slowly close her eyes, as she would say this, to everybody, more specifically her team, hey guys, as everybody would start looking at her, as she would say this, I'm going somewhere, for now, just leave me for now, she would say, as after saying this, before she can actually leave, one of them specifically, Jean would say this, hey, I can't leave you, by yourself, she would say, besides, we're basically teammates, she would say, as Pyro would say this, but, you have to save everybody, I mean, you're gonna be taking care of some of the Grim, right, she would say, as, Ren would say this, don't worry, we can take care of it, he would say, as he would start twirling his little gun, knife things, or sword things, or whatever you want to call them. I don't really know what to call them, though. As Nora would say this, yeah, don't worry, she would say, I can easily break them down, she would say, as she would start, holding up her hammer, as they would see a Grim basically rushing towards her as she would smack it right in the face, causing the skull of the Grim to basically, kaboom. Like instantly kaboom. As after doing so, she would say this. Very well, she would say. As after saying this, she would start leaving with him. More specifically with, with our, lovely little, like, Jean over there. So, we go back with Izuku. As we go back to Izuku and the rest of, like, his team. As Izuku and Team Colorless are basically taking care of, like, some of the Grim and also some corrupted, Athlesian bots, which apparently was caused by Roman because he decided to be a little bitch baby. I'm not wrong. I do like Roman Torchwick as a character, as in, his suave nature, and I just like his design. But I still think he's a bit of a beach baby. But either way, we continue on with the episode as he's basically taking care of some of them, as after a bit of taking care of them, he would say this. I think we got the last of them, he would say. As, one of them would say this. Yeah, I think so, said Russell, but before she can finish anything else, she was knocked towards the ground by somebody. As this somebody was CW. As he would say this, finally speaking. Gotta admit, you're strong, but unfortunately I've gone stronger, he would say. As after saying this, one of them would say this. Wait, you're that guy that fought against Izuku, said, Skyla, as he would say this. Yeah, but at least I got stronger ever since I got expelled from that school, he would say. As after saying that, he would say this, specifically Izuku. Mind telling me who you are, he would say, as the man would say this. Oh, you do remember me, Mr. Free-Eyed Freak, he would say. As after saying this, he would take off his, cloak. As after revealing himself, this man. Oh man, that man. It was Carden Winchester. He seems to be now fused with a Grim, as a partial Grim mask, similar to imagine Ichigo's Hollow Mask, but Grim aesthetics. Yeah, that's basically what happened to him. As he would say this. Oh, look at me now, he would say. As some sparks of of black electricity would start sparking around him, as he would say this. Look at me now, bitch, he would say. As one of them would say this. What the hell happened to you, said, Rachel, as he would say this. Oh, shut up, you bitch, he would say. As after saying that, she would, start to back away, as he would say this. Look at me now. I'm much stronger than back then. Now, allow me to reclaim my title as the leader of Team Cardinal, he would say. As after saying that, he would start to charge towards Izuku, as he would say this. Oh, no, you don't, he would say. As after saying that, he would start using, his chakra rods. As after doing so, he would start, slashing towards him with the, not really slashing, but more like, using the, chakra rods as sort of like a spear. As these chakra rods, I meant, basically similar to like, what's that, servant's name? I can't remember the name, but he was Lancer from, from Fate Zero. I can't remember his name, though. So he would start wielding them, like, similar to him, as during the fight, Carden would start, using some of his new abilities. Like, for an example, he would start creating little, like, sparks of electricity, as these sparks of electricity would almost seem to be, blackened, as after doing, but before he can actually perform the attack, one of them specifically, what's her name? God fucking. As Dove would charge, and as she would start using her sword, as she would say this, "Got you, damn bastard," she would say, as after saying that, as he would say this, "Why, you useless little bitch," he would say, as he would start sparking electricity around his hand, as after doing so, he would charge towards her. As one of them specifically, Sky would say this, "No," she would say, as before she can, she would basically, do a freaking, grin and would basically, kill herself. or I guess you could say sacrifice herself. As after doing so, the electricity would be, surrounding her, as it would cause her to basically become nothing more than a freaking skeleton. As after doing so, Izuku would widen his eyes as after seeing his girlfriend basically die on him. As after doing so, he would say this, specifically Cardin. Damn bitch, he would say, as he would spit towards the ground, as he would say this. Now, as for you, as he would start, sparking electricity once again, as, Dove would say, no, she would say, as before she could say anything else, she was saved by Izuku at the last moment, as he would say this. Why, you little, he would say, but before he could say anything else, he would see something weird about him. Izuku's eyes, they were cold. Like, completely cold. As he was holding the last remains of his, beloved, Skyla. As Skyla's bones would slowly turn to ashes. Because that was that powerful. Like, Cardin's new abilities are that powerful enough to basically turn, their bones into ashes. And let's just say he's definitely not going to I was about to say Endo Tensai. I meant Edo Tensai, But either way, I guess, he can't really Edo Tensai her at all. Or, even revive her, even with the, King of Hell. I mean, actually, may I ask all of you guys, if somebody has the King of Hell, does a person that literally turns to ashes can be revived by that? If so, then, yeah, I'm probably not gonna do that. But either way, we currently see Izuku with a blank stare, as he would see, the last of the dust of his, beloved, basically turn to dust. As after doing so, Cardin would start to laugh as he would say this. Oh, what? Did your damn girlfriend just die on you? Don't make me laugh, he would say. Sorry about that. As after laughing a little bit, Izuku would start staring at him. As something happens to his, Renegon. His Renegon would slowly start turning blood red, to the point that it almost resembles the Sharingan. As 3 more Tomos would come out, as he would say this. He would say, as he would say this. You what, you damn bat! But before he can, as Izuku would go into a stance, as he would say this. Now, Animal Path, Summoning Jutsu. As after saying that, he would say this. Ghetto Maza, Outer Path, he would say. As after screaming that out, a large hand would start emerging from the ground, as it would seem to be made out of this wood, almost stone-like, structure, as everybody would start noticing it from nearby. As Salvador Grimm would also hear the sound of the large Ghetto Maza basically, scream out in agony and rage, as Izuku would just be there, as he would, basically his eyes basically, somewhat, completely, I guess you can say, like, crying. He's basically, like, crying in all of his eyes, as his now, Rene Sharingan is basically glowing a blood red with rage, as he would say this. You bastard! As after saying that, the Ghetto Maza would scream once again, as everybody would just be terrified, as both, Rachel and, Dove would start getting out of the way, basically not getting, near that thing. And as for the others, like, for example, Mercy, what is her name? Yeah, Mercy, what is her name again? Yeah, Mercy, Emerald, Cinder, or Roman Torch, like, nearby, basically, like, after, like, the crash of, like, the, Athnesian ship, and now, all the robots are basically back to normal, and also Neapolitan, and many of the other students would notice the scream of anger and rage coming from the robot. And by the way, they're basically, like, far away from Beacon. And Beacon easily can hear it from there, as everybody would start noticing the large beast, including, Professor Osmond. I meant Osmond, as Osmond would notice this, as he would say this. What the hell is that? He would say, as everybody would just notice the thing, as he would say this. You'll die, he would say, as after saying that, he would start creating electricity around the area, as the electricity would start forming into a large, well, you probably know what it is. As after doing so, the Ghetto Maza would start, putting up his hand into the sky. As after doing so, something would start to come out of there. As this something was a large-looking beast, almost resembling a wolf, as it seems to be made out of blue electricity, with red eyes, as he would say this. Kirin, he would say, as he would say this. Now, pay for your damn sins, he would say. As after saying that, he would start, pushing his hand down, or more specifically the Ghetto Maza, as the large Kirin would start charging towards him. As after doing so, it would impact into the ground. But before this actually happens, we're gonna be ending this episode right off here. So sorry. Yeah, this is a fun-filled episode to say the least. So yeah, this is going to be the end of this episode. And so I hope you liked the video, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye.